It's time now for Down on the Corner, North Central Arkansas's premier morning radio program. Down on the Corner is your connection to the latest political news, community events, local businesses, and the candidates who seek your support. Now, here's Dale Hoffman, live from the Mountain Talk 97 studios in downtown Mountain Home.
Good morning, North Central Arkansas. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2015, 7:06 in the morning. We have cloudy conditions. We have 37 degrees and rain right now, but the temperature's going to start falling here in a little while. So just brace yourself, folks. Hopefully it'll stay a little bit warmer than what they said, but who knows. I think we're in the crosshairs of the gun sight right here for this storm, but it's still a good day here. We got Brewed Awakening Coffee in the coffee cup. Stop by and have a cup of coffee with us sometime. Brewed Awakening Coffee supplying the coffee to the Mountain Talk studios. You can enjoy them too. They're on Highway 62 Business East across from Flashback's Retro Shop. Outstanding coffee that will not disappoint you. And, of course, Gilbert Realty brings you the morning prayer each and every day. They're on Highway 62 Business West across from River Rock Inn. They serve North Central Arkansas and South Central Missouri. 425-6282 is their number. Give them a call today if they can assist you with any of your real estate needs. Let's pause for the morning prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, today I pray you keep us from the ice storm. I pray you allow temperatures to remain above freezing. But most of all, I pray that you'll protect those that are alone. Lord, if we are to experience the storm, I just pray that power will remain on, especially for the elderly and those alone. I just pray you protect our people. This is our prayer today. Amen. Once again, Gilbert Realty brings you the morning prayer. They're in the stone building across from River Rock Inn. 425-6282 is their number. Give them a call today. 37 degrees in Mountain Home with rain. We've got 47. Am I seeing that right? 37 in Mountain Home and 47 in Clinton. So that temperature is starting to be on the decline near the state line, close to state line. It's 43 in Mountain View, 40 at Calico, but it's 34 in Harrison. Batesville at 45, Springfield at 30. So there's the freeze line right there. 32 at West Plains. St. Louis is already at 24. Nashville, Tennessee at 51. But Watford City's at their normal March temperature of -8 near the Canadian border. The radar is interesting. It looks like somebody had a map of the United States and started in Texas with a green marker and went all the way to Maine. We've got rain in central Texas all the way to Oklahoma, the northern half of Arkansas, southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, western Kentucky, Tennessee, southern Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and it goes on up into the New England area. The heaviest part of the rain and precipitation's up in Ohio. That stretches from the Indiana line all the way up into Pennsylvania. In Arkansas, let's take a look at your highways. Highway 62, 412 east-west from the Oklahoma line to the Mississippi River. You're going to experience precipitation of some form. Highway 65, Little Rock to Branson, is wet or freezing. Highway 67, 167, same way. It affects Interstate 49, 30. Well, let me back off. 30 is not that bad, but 40 from Little Rock to Fort Smith, it looks bad. In Tennessee, 40 from Nashville to Memphis, I-65 and I-24 all affected there. So just if you're in the Midwest, it's going to affect it. Even the highways going up into St. Louis, I-44 and 70 and 64 and 55 are all affected right now. So here we go, folks. One more round, then spring's around the corner. Right now, it's Mike Huckabee. Be right back. Coming up on 7:16, we want to welcome to mic number 2 our mayor, Mayor Dillard. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dale. It's good to be here on a cold, wintry morning.
Maybe this is the end of it. One more round, and maybe spring's around the corner.
Well, let's do that maybe and hope for the best. I was born here in this county, and I've seen a lot of wintry weather in March and actually up into early April. Some big snows. So, of course, ground's better then, warmer, and the temperature, and it don't last as long. But sounds like we've got a major event moving in on us.
It sure does. So what do you got for us? You got a bunch of notes. I'm
going to
let you do some talking here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Eamon Tilley, who is the head of our...
Good to have Eamon here today.
Yes, Eamon's here, and he's out early pretty much every morning, but especially on bad weather days. But Eamon is the department head over the streets, and he has been with the city a long time and does an outstanding job. I would put our street department up against any department, any city in the state, and I think they would come out on top. The reason for that is that the main reason is Mr. Tilley's direction and his experience. But we do everything in house.
Really?
Where most cities do contracting, and I'll let Eamon get into that a little bit. But if we go in here and rebuild a street, let's say Bomber Boulevard last year, it's a high-profile street, and they went in and completely redone it, and I'm talking about complete curbs, sidewalks,
Like you're doing on Waverly right now in Southside City.
Exactly. Yeah. And in most cases, most cities will have a contractor to do that at an elevated cost to the city. So the reason I think we can leverage our dollars is we've got good crews and good leadership that can actually go in and redo a street.
Here's what I like about that, Mayor. Eamon's got Baxter County people at work.
Right.
You have a contractor come in, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You may have Jefferson City, Missouri. You may have Oklahoma City. Who knows where they come from? You're putting Baxter County folks to work, right?
Yes, and that's important in keeping our money local. We'll get into that. We do have two contracts that are went into contract and since the last visit here, and one is South College or 201 South from Highway 5 down to the bypass, and then the other one is a contract that's for the stoplight at 201 North and Arkansas Avenue. So,
let me ask you a question about Highway 201 South.
okay.
Ever so often people ask me, well, why don't you ask this guy this or that? When we see a truck coming in, and Mr. Tilley may have to answer this, will the mapping change? In other words, will the State Highway 201 actually be on the maps at the bypass by the new harps rather than come in by the sheriff's office and make that left? Because it says like TO 201, 201. Now, will the mapping change to keep the trucking traffic from that section of highway past First Security Bank, Harold's Auto Parts, and Town and Country? Will the mapping change if that is strictly South College? No, you understand what I'm saying?
I think so, and there's been some talk about that. We haven't got a definite answer from the highway department on it yet, but I'm thinking that the mapping will change on that, and that
'Cause that way when the
that will no
trucking-
longer be 201 South.
So if the trucking dispatchers are dispatching a truck from, say, Harrison, Mountain Home, say they're going to Mountain Home Concrete, they would come in, then take the bypass, and then turn south, because wouldn't that make that junction the Highway 201 rather than routing them through past the sheriff's office, past Town Country Grocery, and then making the right? Because that's a hard right for some of the tractor trailers that have to go down to, Epoxon's down there and some of the other
Epoxy,
factories.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's what they've got in mind of doing with
Right.
that.
The thing, once this is completed, this may very well become a city street instead of a state highway, and then we can better control those weights. On a state highway, trucks can travel state highways. We try to limit the weights and the traffic from big trucks on our streets. Now you have to do, they have to get in and out in certain places, and we understand that. But like Cardinal or College Street, we don't want them using those type streets as like a state highway.
Right.
And so they're busy enough without all them big trucks.
Yeah. Wow.
But Eamon, you want to talk about the contract? Now I know the rebidding, and it saved us a lot of money. And
Yeah, the first bid that it came in on it, the state advertised it for bids. We only had one person bid on it. We asked them to rebid it. They did rebid it, added a little more time frame on getting the project done. And when the bids came in that time, we had 5 people bid on it. The first go around, most of the bidders that I talked to just felt like they could not meet that time frame that was in the bids. And the second bid came in almost $3 million under the first bid.
That's quite a savings.
And the city is paying 20% of that, so that's $600,000 to the city that we saved by
You guys did
rebidding.
good.
well, the state and the city, everybody saved money there, and that's taxpayers' money or generated it from fuel mainly, but still our taxpayers buying that fuel. So,
But when we look at that job on 201 South, that's a huge undertaking because that's still an older part of town. Has that ever been resurfaced or redone in the last 30, 40 years?
Oh, it's had a lot of resurfacing done to it, but it's never had a rebuild done to it. And what they're going to do now is it's going to have underground storm drains, curb and gutters, sidewalks on both sides. It's going to be a really nice street when it's done.
Wow.
Going to be a 3-lane street.
That's needed.
yes, that'll hopefully keep it moving down in the congested area around the school, and also increase the safety factor the way we would, safety is a big factor in rebuilding streets, and we've done a lot of that around the schools, try to mitigate problems.
Now, didn't you tell me last time, Mayor, that they had to do some rerouting or just the sewer and or natural gas lines? What was that?
Well, we've had to redo all the utilities. Pretty much had to be moved. They've set new poles, but the city has had to remove or relocate their water and sewer lines up and down through there, and some of those sewer lines are on gravity flow, so that means deep cuts. In order to keep it working, but we're just about through with that, and the state will actually the utilities are part of this cost, so the water and sewer department is going to be getting back a pretty good chunk of money for the work that they did in relocating those, and at the same time able to upgrade the line sizes, and so it put that area down there actually in good shape. I know it's been a big inconvenience to the people, and
but once it's done, it's going to be fabulous.
Well, it is. We have to go through these periods in order to to get to where we want to go. I mean, it'd be nice if we could turn a switch and one night and next morning everybody it'd be there, but it don't happen that way. So after many months, the thing it's coming along. And
well, remember the project that took the road from the bypass past Mountain Home Baptist Church and the Christian Clinic and comes around and then goes out McClure to 5. Mm-hmm. I mean, that thing is as smooth as any road I've ever been on.
Well, Eamon can talk to that.
I think we built some good roads.
I do too.
Yeah, and. I wanted to say too, in this rebidding process, a local bidder, Dillard Construction, was a low bidder, and again, he's familiar with the area and close.
To me, that means a lot.
And that keeping that money here in Mountain Home, and
if you live here, you care about what goes on, and I think you're gonna have a little bit better craftsmanship too. Don't you agree?
I agree. I think we'll end up with a really good road over there.
Well, it's expensive. Any road building's expensive, and Eamon, you might just tell Dale and our audience out there, on a running foot of road, when we rebuild a residential street and put a sidewalk on one side with curbs, what that cost is.
Those run anywhere from around $160 to $180 a running foot when we go in there and completely do a rebuild like we've done all over town. So it's
so to get the cost per mile, I would take $180 times 5,280 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But the roads we put in, if you look at them, most of them, it's a good investment because most of them we don't go back and do anything to for 20 years. And that's good. That's our goal when we put one of those streets in.
And then once you rebid it and save the $3 million.
And then when the thing is where you go in and curb and gutter the streets, when you go back to redo anything to it, your base work, your underground drainage, all that stuff is still there. So all you're going to have to do is go in and overlay it.
So basically for the future, you guys have basically remodeled for the future for probably 75 years or better.
Easily. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Well, that old saying, to do it right the first time.
A stitch in time saves nine, that old saying.
Yeah.
And that's our goal is that, typically the city's going to be here forever. And these roads, it's got the good subgrades built to them, the good base, the concrete curbs. that part, the asphalt is going to be the only thing that wears
Yeah.
out on it.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
you'll go in and seal it. We have a sealing program that we do every other year
Yeah.
on the newer streets.
Sure. Time for a break. We're visiting with Mountain Home Mayor Joe Dillard. And what's your official title, Mr. Dillard? Your
Director of Streets.
Director of Streets. We're visiting with Eamon Tilley as well. Time for the news. We'll be right back. 7:35 on a cold, cloudy, rainy day. Hopefully it won't turn to snow, but the forecast is for some snow and some ice, but spring's around the corner. Mayor Joe Dillard's here along with Mountain Home Street Director Eamon Tilley. Once again, gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Dale. It is a cold morning, and maybe we could just let Mr. Tilley kind of walk us through when this weather gets bad, how he and his department are going to take care of our city streets. I think
I
that's
was
very
him-
important.
Mr. Tilley, if I was you, I'd get on the cell phone and say, Mr. Mayor, we ran off to Cancun.
That probably wouldn't work. But basically what we do is we will split into two 12-hour shifts, and we'll work around the clock until it's done. One of the way that we basically do the city is we have the city set up in 10 zones. Each zone has the major and minor roads in that zone. When the storm first hits, when it first starts, we concentrate on the major zones. We have a piece of equipment in each zone and an operator in each zone. And we try to keep the same operators in there year after year. That way they know the zone, know what roads to hit first. And so we will do that once the snow or ice or whatever quits, and we've got that main road open pretty well, then we start moving out into the secondary streets. Now, that's not to say that piece of equipment doesn't just keep running that main road. It runs it, and when it gets it pretty well knocked down, it'll go hit some secondary streets till the main road gets covered again. Then they'll go back to the main road. But the secondary streets, usually we have it where we pretty well have every street in town done at about 18 to 20 hours after the snow quits. So, some of those secondary streets, we won't be there for 18 to 20 hours. But
Now, what determines a secondary street? Would that be like a dead end, a cul-de-sac, or maybe 3 or 4 houses as compared to 40 or 50 homes on a certain residential street?
what we try to do is we keep the main street through, each subdivision, we've got figured out what we feel like is the highest travel street in that subdivision. That's what we call the main street in it. Mm-hmm. So that will be the one that we will concentrate on the most, because most of the time on your secondary streets, you don't have a lot of traffic on it, and people can get to that main street. And they kind of learn that, I may live out here at the end of this dead end, but if I can get up here to Arkansas Avenue, then that's going to be clear, and I'm going to be able to get to where I need to go. And so it kind of works out real well for us that way.
I know that all this last time I saw a city truck going down, of course, once you get that cake of ice, you can take all the snow you want off the cake of ice, but if you still have that bed, say, 1 inch to 2 inches thick, that blade's just going to bounce.
Exactly.
Is there any kind of pre-treat or any type? Well, is it just wait for the sun to melt it?
We put some salt in with our sand. We don't do any pre-treating in the city.
Too expensive.
Yeah. And, normally if you can get that snow off of the top of that ice and get just a little sunshine, it'll go ahead and break up and you can get it off of there. Mm-hmm. But the ice is really hard to deal with. I mean, even if you do pre-treating and even if you do chemicals, now like the forecast tonight where it's supposed to be down 7-8 degrees, your chemicals don't even work at 7 or 8 degrees.
Yeah, they stop working? 21, 22 above?
Your salt will work down to about 20 degrees.
20 degrees.
Your calcium chloride will work down to about 17 degrees. And when you get below 17 degrees, there's not anything working.
It's all
very
over
well.
now, ain't it? No. Unbelievable.
Well, Dale, we just want to. This has been in the forecast. This event, that's weather event, and I hope that people have prepared themselves. And I would encourage everybody once this starts freezing to use extra caution, and hopefully most people won't have to get out hopefully they done that yesterday or last night. But this sounds like an event. The snow we can handle a lot better, but if the ice and it's as long as we keep power, we'll be okay.
Oh yeah, if we keep the power, we're gonna be fine. Because I was looking, I think I watched Channel 3 last night, and Thursday it warms up a little bit, I think, but then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Katie bar the door, here it comes,
Yeah.
And a week from now, they're predicting 65 degrees.
Yeah.
So-
Well, in looking at the TV last night, it looks like South Arkansas actually is positioned to get more freezing ice accumulation.
They can have it.
And they can
I'm
have an
not
ice storm down there. And I've seen a good one or two, or a bad one. I'd say no ice storm are good, but
But looking at the radar right now, it's really, once it hits Oklahoma, it seems like it's just blossoming there from central Oklahoma to the state line of Arkansas. Now there's a line at Fort Smith along I-40 at I-49 that, now I'm mistaken, it's northeast. I hope that don't hit us.
well, we're in the. You said, I believe earlier, that it looks like we're in the bullseye here. So.
Yeah.
But we live in the Ozarks. The weather changes constantly here. I mean, and it's good that if we can get this bad weather over with and get some. Someone told me yesterday they was ready for see green grass, and we was in a meeting with our parks director, and he said, I'm ready to see sunshine, but he didn't say green grass because he knows that's going to be a lot of mowing, over 200 acres of mowing for him. But
Is that Billy?
Billy Austin, yeah, he was wanting the sunshine, but just leave the grass for a while. But overall, Dale, the city, everything is going is running pretty good. We've been extremely busy, and we expect that in a growing town. But one thing I wanted to mention too, the revenues, our sales tax revenue, and we've talked about events before and getting people here, and like the Supreme Court people may be coming in to the event. Anytime we can get people here, that's good, and that's the cleanest revenue we can get. But the money that people spend here shopping in November showed up in January, and it was up about $67,000. And the money that was spent here in December showed up this month. It's always 2 months behind. But a total right now, we're $137,000 above where we were this time last year, which is a good indicator that the people are. And we've had new businesses open last year, which is showing up, and so it's a good indicator that maybe the economy is turning, and people
if we just keep them gas prices down.
Well, that's important, and they're easing back up, and I wish we could keep them down and get through a summer and just see how effective that could be with lower gas prices.
If we could just keep it at $1.90, that'd be a shot in the arm for a lot of folks that could do some camping and visit the resorts and things like that.
Yeah, and just look at how much the city and the county and the state would save on their fuel bills, running machinery and throughout the year. The police, the fire, the street, everybody. We spend a lot of money on fuel, so that's a savings back. That if we can save that money there, then we can go and do something else that to help the people in the form of a service back to. So it benefits all of us, and but we're not in control of it. So But I'm thankful for the low prices that we have had in the last few months.
Shot in the arm, hasn't
It
it?
has, and it'll show up in our budgets too, and that's the point I wanted to make. But we're excited about the summer, the upcoming events, and visiting with the people in our resorts and up and down the lake, around the lakes and the rivers. It sounds like we've got a good year ahead of us. So I hope everybody gets excited, and I think we'll be hearing exciting news, in the future. And this is just a great town, and I just.
You're having a ball, aren't you?
Well,
you're
I just
having
want.
fun.
Well, I tell you what, I get
See
up
the smile
excited.
on- yeah.
I get up excited every morning because where else could you live
Yeah.
and have what we have here? I'm talking about from a recreational standpoint, from an educational standpoint, a medical facilities we have, the library. You know, we've pretty much got everything we need right here.
Yeah.
We've got a Hobby Lobby, and Branson, Missouri doesn't have one.
That's a good thing.
You know, hey,
Branson,
hey,
can come to Mountain
women,
Home.
listen up out there. We want you here in Mountain Home. But with the events coming up and with all the things that's happening, I think Mountain Home is going to, and not only Mountain Home, but the area in general is going to benefit from it. And so, if we can get people into the area here, why they're going to go and help us spread the word.
It's like those baseball tournaments we had last year. You know,
oh yeah,
people were out at Walmart buying stuff, and
they were everywhere.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if we have a district tournament, well, they bring the boat and the camper, and they'll wind up at one of the campgrounds. Then they'll go out and buy the supplies and say, hey, we played on Thursday night. We play again Friday at 5, so we're going to be on the lake until the last minute,
Catch some of them big fish out there.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, one other another thing or two before we wind up, but the contract should be contractor should start work about any time on our stoplight on 201 North and Highway or Arkansas Avenue. And so when that contractor shows up, we just ask that people
Be careful.
be careful going through during the construction phase. And I don't know, Eamon, as you've got any want to bring us up to date on what we're doing on 16th Street, where we're at on that project as far as redoing that bridge and straightening out some things.
Okay, 16th Street, we're done with the bridge part of it, or just about done with the bridge part. We're working on the street going up the hill. Now, that's the street that we got the additional right-of-way from, and it's going to extend on through to Glenbrier. Project's going real well on it. And then coming off of Highway 5, we're on Waverly, which will come all the way through and hook up to 16th Street when we're done, which is going to put some good curb and gutter, sidewalk and stuff over in that area. And then also while we're over there, we're looking at adding this sidewalk on 16th Street from the bridge on up to the school to tie in with the sidewalk that they're going to have.
There?
No, that one will have a sidewalk. But right now from the bridge to College Street does not have a sidewalk.
Okay.
And since we're getting College Street redone, we're looking at going ahead and putting a sidewalk on that there. And then that just puts you a big loop of a sidewalk basically all the way around that area over there.
Wow.
We try to put in sidewalks at least one side of every street that we do, where we do the curb and gutter. We try to put sidewalk on at least one side. When we get into the commercial areas, then we try to do both sides.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, we're thinking back at that running cost per running foot, and with 2 sidewalks, it's close to $200. So, I think Eamon and his crew they do a good job leveraging the dollars they get.
Well, plus the planning.
Well, exactly. We get accused sometimes of not looking to the future. I hope people stop and really look at what we try to do, and the street department's a prime example of that. And our water department trying to make sure we've got water tanks and storage tanks and good water pressures, and that street work or the water work or sewer work, it's not attractive work, but it's we have to do it. And when a street gets through, you can see that, and that looks good with new curb and sidewalk. The water and sewer is underground, and you don't see it, and you don't really think much about it until you have a problem.
Yeah.
So we try to mitigate problems by working on these type projects to make sure that we've got abundance of water.
And the good planning goes behind the good work.
Well,
so I think y'all are doing a good job.
Well, thank you. I pass that on to all the department heads and our people, our employees. We got great employees.
Need to take a break. Sean Handy and other good things. We'll close out the show with the mayor and Mr. Tilley right after this. 7:53, real quick. Mr. Shirley had a few things he wanted to say. Had a question real quick about the curbing. They're asking why are the curbs kind of high? You want to address that? Let me see how exactly. Why does every business and residence Mountain Home have such tall curbs?
Well, the purpose of the curb is to carry the water to the inlets. What we use is a standard design, which has a 5-inch back from the flow line to the top of that curb. When it comes to the driveway hold downs, we will drop that 3 inches, give you a better driving surface going over it. But you will have the bump, because if you don't, then you have all the water running down your driveway. And that's the purpose of the back of the curbs. Now, the curbs that the city uses, our curb forms, are actually 2 inches lower than most curb forms.
But that is a standard form.
But it is a standard form.
And one other thing too, Dale, as people drive through the city, they're going to, we've got city streets and we've got state highways. State highways have, they do their own work, and I don't know how their curbs compare to ours, but
their curb is more of a stand-up curb, where ours is basically called a drive-over curb. It has a laid-back back on it, and it is actually called, on the specs, it's called a drive-over curb.
And I think this is an appropriate time too for comments on this. That the city has its jurisdiction inside the city with city streets. Right. The state of Arkansas has its jurisdiction with all state highways running through the city for snow removal or ice removal. The county has its jurisdictions, but so there's 3 entities that we depend on to remove the ice or the snow and keep our highways safe. So each jurisdiction has its own responsibilities. We don't work on state highways that run through any of the state highways, and there's several run through Mountain Home. So,
about 30 seconds. Final thoughts, Mr. Tilley, first.
Just one thing I'd like to just remind everybody is that the funding for the street department, most of that funding comes from the city sales tax, and that's where we get the money to rebuild these streets like we're doing.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, I just, again, with this event coming in, I just want to encourage everyone to, if you have to drive or get out today, do so with caution. Let's check on if we have an event that lasts 2 or 3 days, we need to check on our neighbors, make sure we keep our families and neighbors. It's important, because a lot of our neighbors may be alone.
Yeah,
and so
that worries me.
We need to keep a good eye on them, and just hope everybody has a safe time during this event.
Through the storm. Our thanks to Mayor Joe Dillard and Eamon Tilley, Director of Streets Department here in Mountain Home. Time for the Rush Morning Update, followed by Glenn Beck. Stay warm, everybody. See you tomorrow.